Hi, this is Lorene, and I've been guided to do another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so this video is going to be about all time being now, or all time happening simultaneously. And I'm just going to approach it like I've never talked about it before, okay? So the way it was described to me, the way this idea or this concept of all time being now was described to me, was I was shown a plane. So meaning a plane in geometry, which consists of 3 points. Okay, so 3 points would make a triangle. So, you know, this is a plane. And this plane is not confined to these 3 points. It can go on for eternity, okay, throughout time and space, okay? And if we think about my birth, the day I was born, April 3rd, 1967, as being a point in time, and I'll just demonstrate that as this point right here. This is my birth, okay? And then this point right here being me right here in this moment today. There is distance between this point, my point of birth, and this day right here, okay? And the way this, what was described to me was, if at your point of birth there was a photograph that represented that point in time, and then for every moment or point in time of your existence there was another photograph laid or left in reality, in this universe, there would be a trail of photographs from your point of birth until this point in time right now. So it was described to me that from this point right here, my birth, for every moment in time there is a snapshot of my existence that's left all the way across the universe up until this moment. And every moment that is happening currently, there is a photograph being created to represent that moment, okay? Equally, as we move into the future, or as there is a future, from this point in time, the present, right here, to this future date at my death, let's just say this is my death, there are also possible realities that are being considered from this moment, because they haven't manifested yet, out to my death, okay? And so we don't know when that's going to be, when my death is going to be, but we know it's inevitable. This physical body is not meant to exist forever, okay? It's meant to die. My consciousness exists eternally, because it is, you can perceive it as a piece of the divine consciousness, but in reality, it is the divine consciousness. And I'm not saying that my consciousness is the divine consciousness, although I did just say that. Your consciousness is also the divine consciousness, because separation is a construct, okay? It doesn't truly exist. The only thing that truly exists is unity consciousness, okay? But that's another discussion. But it's important for us to understand our divine root, okay? So here we are. I have my birth. We have every point in time being photographed up into this present moment. and then we have all these possible realities being considered, okay? Even though my future reality has not manifested yet, and there's only possible realities, there are certain benchmarks that I will hit, that I will do, that I will achieve from this present moment until my death. And that is my commitment. Those are things that I choose to manifest into my reality, okay? And so I'm going to put these lines here to represent those benchmarks, okay? Now, I can look back at my past right now and think about the pivotal moments in my time, in my life, that I've had up to this point. And I know what those benchmarks are. I know what had to happen in my life to bring me to this point. Okay? I know it in my mind, I know it in my body, I know it in my soul. Okay? This is my journey. This is my path and purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. I know what that is. Dharma. Okay, this is Dharma. I know what I'm meant to do on this world in this lifetime. I know what I'm meant to achieve. And I know that I had to go through certain things between my birth and between this present moment to bring me to this place where I know what I'm meant to do on this world in this lifetime. Okay? So when we talk about benchmarks, when I talk about benchmarks, these are things that we are meant to achieve. And it doesn't even have to be in this lifetime. This could be the expanse of my existence in this universe. It doesn't have to just be in this lifetime, okay? There are benchmarks that I have in this lifetime, and there are benchmarks for me in my existence in this universe, okay? And this is important because this segues a bit into this idea of timelines, okay? So if we think about benchmarks, and I think it's easier to do this from this point in time, presently here, to my death. Think about all the possible realities that could exist in my life. I have all these possible realities occurring, and I'm going to represent these by a bunch of different lines. I should have used different color pens. I think I'll do that now. So all these different lines, these lines here, represent possible realities. These are deviations from this path right here, this straight line, okay? So the goal is for us to experience at this 3D level, is to experience our existence from a place of separation, from a place of believing that we are separate from one another, from this world, from the divine. And then through this experience at this 3D level of consciousness, we are meant to begin to understand our divine root. And as we start to understand our true divine selves, we start to align our vibration with that of the divine consciousness, okay? We start to tap into our intuition, and we start to listen to that guidance that's helping us find our way on this world, in this lifetime, and in this universe. Okay, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Where are we meant to go? What are we meant to do? I'm absolutely positive that my whole life is not, or my existence isn't revolving around birth, school, getting a job, buying a car, a house, having a family, and then dying. There is something greater that I'm meant to do, and I know it with every fiber of my being, right? And so as I awaken and as I journey forward and starting to understand or trying to understand my existence, not only my life, but my existence, I start to align myself with the divine consciousness, okay? So as I, in my youth, was resistant to my parents or resistant to school, teachers, the structures. Actually, I was more resistant, not to the adults in my life. I was a pretty good kid. I was more resistant to the structures. I never understood money, why some people had more money or less money, why people had to suffer. I didn't understand like hierarchies. Now when I look back at it, I can say I was confused by hierarchies, why people were treated so poorly, why so many people were marginalized. I didn't understand a lot of the structures of our society. It was just very foreign to me. And so I was a little resistant to conforming to what people expected me to do because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. And so as I resist, if it was resisting my path and purpose, I would deviate from this line here, okay? And that could be many things, but what these squiggly lines represent are deviations from path and purpose. When we go against the flow of energy, when we go against what we are meant to do here on this world in this lifetime, we start to deviate from our path and purpose. And so those deviations can be perceived as timelines, okay? That's what people perceive as timelines. These deviations from path and purpose. If we were completely aligned with the divine consciousness from birth until death, our reality, our life would be this straight line. If we are completely aligned with the divine consciousness, we are doing what we are meant to do, when we are meant to do it, on this world, in this lifetime. We are experiencing what we are meant to experience. Because this experience is about self-discovery. The divine consciousness, upon its creation of this universe, was considering all the things it could possibly be. And with that force of intention of what can I possibly be, it began to manifest this reality, okay? And so as that desire to see what it could possibly be begins to manifest, reality manifests, okay? And so these timelines, these that are here, are manifestations of our desire to deviate from what the divine consciousness is trying to manifest, okay? So if we're trying to consider, okay, give me a second to think about this. Okay, so when the divine consciousness manifested this reality, it had a desire to consider all the things it could possibly be, okay? Those desires were very clear, and that represents this straight line. The straight line of my existence is me manifesting a clear vision of what the divine consciousness hopes to experience through my existence, okay? Any deviations from my path and purpose were my choice, okay? That's my choice. I chose to move against the flow of energy or resist the flow of energy and go this way for whatever that could whatever reason I had. To me, when I think about it, what comes to me intuitively is it's rooted in ego. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in anxiety. It's rooted in desire, maybe greed, right? It could be any of those things that got me to deviate from what I'm meant to do here on this world, right? But from the perspective of the divine consciousness, it's a curiosity, right? The divine consciousness created this reality with an intention of having certain experiences. But when I'm allowed to perceive myself as separate from the divine consciousness and not be ruled by that divine consciousness, I deviate. It is my choice to deviate from the flow of energy, right? I'm deviating from what I'm meant to do. That's what these squiggly timelines are representing, okay? My desire to experience something different than what the divine consciousness chose or desired, okay? And the divine consciousness's curiosity to allows me to experience that, because I'm thinking on my own and allowing this energy to see even greater deviations or a greater depth and breadth of what it could possibly be, okay? But back to these little benchmarks, these benchmarks, each one of these are representing things that will happen based on what the divine consciousness desires to experience, okay? These benchmarks will always occur, no matter how I deviate from what the divine consciousness initially intended. These benchmarks, determined by the divine consciousness, will always occur. Okay, it doesn't matter where or how I deviate, because in the end, we are all unified as unity, and we all have the same desire as unity because we are unity. We are merely perceiving ourselves as separate. Okay, that's a construct. It doesn't truly exist. We are not separate. We are divine. Okay, so we will always gravitate back to these benchmarks. And we will always have these experiences because that is what is meant to happen. Okay, so free will, the opportunity to choose, is represented by these squiggly lines or by these timelines. Okay, but no matter what timeline these perceived timelines are, no matter how you deviate away from this original path, this dharma, you will always end up back at these benchmarks, at these spots. It doesn't matter how you try to change this outcome. You can have these curiosities, you can have these different experiences. We all can. We all have these different opportunities to do things differently, okay, than what was initially intended. But ultimately, in the end, we will always end up back at these benchmarks, and we will always achieve what is meant to be achieved by the divine consciousness. And again, this isn't just my life. This is our existence here in the universe. Okay? This universe, there are certain benchmarks within this universe, from the birth of the universe till the conclusion of this universe. There are certain benchmarks, certain events, certain experiences that are meant to happen, and they will happen. Okay? So back to the metaphor I was telling you about the photographs, and I have a really great graphic that I love. I found in an article that I'm going to show, that I'll put in picture. So if you think about all the photographs that are being placed, and actually I should preface this with, I read, and I'll put the article in here, that I thought when I took science in high school or whatever, that our solar system was stationary. Like the sun was in the middle and all our planets circled around there, and then there was this big Milky Way that was around that, and that was pretty much it, right? We were spinning in this universe, and there's a whole bigger universe, but we didn't know much about that, right? And when I read this article, I found out that our solar system is really moving through space, right? Our whole solar system is moving through space. Like all of space is moving, okay? Not just our solar system. All of the universe is moving. And so it better demonstrated how at my birth, there is a photograph for every moment in time since my birth. And as we move through the universe at 38 billion miles an hour, or however fast it is, at every point in time, that a photograph is being left behind of my existence, right? So from birth, as we travel through the universe, I am leaving behind moments in time of my existence, every moment in time of my existence, okay? So if we're thinking about my birth and where those photographs are, they're going to be way on the other side of the universe, right? 57 years of photographs, all the way up to this point. And if we think about when I die, I don't know, my family lives to be about 100 years old. So in the next 42 years, 43 years, if we think about all the photographs going out of my possible realities, right? You're going to have a straight line of photographs of possible realities. And then you'll have all these possible, we'll have one straight line of what I'm meant to do on this world in this lifetime or in this universe. But you'll see a lot of squiggly lines because there's possible realities within that, if I choose to deviate from what I am meant to do, if I choose to resist the flow of energy. Okay, so these squiggly lines represent me resisting the flow of energy. The more tapped into my intuition I am, the more tapped into the flow of energy and the divine consciousness I am, the less deviation we'll see in my future. Okay, and that's how it's meant to be. With less resistance, we'll have more flow of energy. With less resistance, we'll have more joy. With less resistance, I have more happiness. With less resistance, I fulfill the things I hope to fulfill in my future. And for me, this is what comes in to me intuitively, what I feel, mind, body, and spirit, is as my faith becomes absolute, I reduce resistance. And anytime I have pangs of anxiety or fear, or I'm triggered from my childhood traumas, those things create resistance. And so I might have a little friction, I might have a little resistance to what I'm meant to do in the future, or it might slow my progress, but it doesn't stop me. Because every time I have a pang of anxiety or a tap into fear or get frustrated, those are always opportunities for me to tap into my emotional body and work on centering my energy and mastering that emotional body. Again, I'm not meant to be perfect, but I'm always working on understanding, finding perspective, and tapping into compassion and love so I can resist these triggers. And so I can release any fear or anxiety that I might have. So it just flows around me and it doesn't get stuck in my physical body. Okay? And so when we talk about all time being now, all time is happening simultaneously. My birth is happening right now, 35 million miles away. Okay? My death is happening 45 million miles away. because I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I'm almost in the middle of my life, right? And in order for me to travel to my birth, or to experience my birth or my death, I would have to cross this space to get back to my birth. And this space, oops, I'm upside down. This space also represents time. Okay, so if I'm trying to go witness my own birth, I'm gonna have to travel across this space, which represents time. This is 57 years, right? So that's how this idea of time, space, and all time being now was explained to me. In order for me to go to my birth, I will not only have to cross space, but I'll have to also cross time. Okay? So I think the most important things to come out of this is that we have a choice in what we do in our life. Okay? We're not stuck in any type of matrix or any type of fated future outcome, right? We have choices that we can make. But when we tap into our intuition and we tap into the divine consciousness and tap into what we're meant to do, that creates the most beautiful experience in this existence for us, because that's the intention of the divine consciousness. The divine consciousness at its homeostatic state is unconditional love. That is what's been communicated to me. And when the divine consciousness began to create or created this universe, it was rooted in unconditional love. But as we experience this universe from this place of separation, we are allowed to make choices, right? We are allowed to make choices. But we will return to love. We will return to unconditional love. And that's why we have these benchmarks, and that's why we have certain things that we are meant to do, okay? And we'll keep repeating cycles, whether it's this short cycle here, let's see, whether it's this short cycle here, whether it's this cycle here, whether it's this big cycle here, and you can see this as a life, or you can see this as lifetimes, or my existence in the universe. Whatever is required, we will keep repeating cycles until we meet the benchmarks that we are meant to reach, okay? And that is because we will return to unity consciousness. We will return to wholeness. We will return to oneness. Okay? So as we align ourselves with the flow of energy and the divine consciousness, we move closer to that unity consciousness. And once we reached a certain level of consciousness, we go to that different level, more connected level, and we start working from a more collective place. So as we move to this 5D consciousness, we're not going to be living from separation. We're not going to be living from individuality, individual karma. Okay? We're moving to a place of collective consciousness, and we'll be moving to collective consciousness of the planet as a whole. Okay, there's going to be no separation between countries, between life, all life, animals, on land, animals in the water, aquatic animals, the earth, everything. The collective consciousness as a whole of Earth will be working together, and we will start to affect the universe as a whole, as a collective on this world. And as we reach higher levels of consciousness, we will come together as a collective of this solar system, and then the galaxy, and so on. And we will continue to evolve until we are eventually at unity consciousness, wholeness, oneness. Okay? The paradox is that we already are at unity consciousness because everything is happening simultaneously. This universe was created and collapsed or ended in every second or moment in time. It's created in every moment in time and recreated every moment in time, because all time is happening simultaneously. Okay? And I know I just kind of did this whole video and now I just throw out something different, right? But it's really important to start to understand these concepts and ideas, because it takes a lot to integrate it, right? It's taken a lot to integrate this. I understood it very clearly quite a while ago, but I had no idea how to communicate it. And it's even hard now, but I have to start communicating it more and more, because every time I talk about it, it becomes clearer and clearer. Give me a second, let me make sure I haven't missed anything. Thank you.